In this fifth and final episode in this series, we're going to look at 5 kanji that have medium to advanced complexity. The first kanji we'll look at is this one. Notice that the bushu, or radical, is the cliff radical, and we'll see that here. And you see that it goes over like this and then down. So this represents a cliff. The stroke order is, again, we draw this what I call a pot lid, 1, 2, and then we have the cliff coming down as 3. Then continuing 4, 5, 6, and then 7. And then finally we draw a little mouth at the bottom here, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, how do we say this? The Chinese version of this would be to, to. And the Japanese version of this would be kara, kara. Okay, what does this mean? Well, this means China, or specifically the Tang Dynasty. You might see it written as Tan or Tang, but in Japanese the Chinese derivation would be To. Now the usage of this particular character comes from a passage in the Mokuroku scroll that talks about Professor Okazaki's training, and specifically he mentions the Okinawan karate jutsu. This is karate jutsu, which means, and this is Okinawa right here. This no is like the possessive particle, but it says the Ryukyu no karate jutsu, and what that means is the China hand, or the karate from Okinawa. Now we are oftentimes used to seeing karate written this way with this character, which means empty, empty hand, but in the older version it used the China hand, karate. All right, next we see interesting kanji. Notice that the bushu for this particular character can either be this one right here. This means bean, as in soybean. In fact, the next time you go and buy edamame, you might notice that this character is on the package. And it can also mean, it can also have the radical this, which means leaf or a page, like a page in a book. So specifically, I would look for this particular character as the radical, as opposed to this, but in Japanese they consider either one of these radical. This one is the one that's most often used, the one that I called bean. Okay, what's the stroke order of this? Okay, the bean part goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7. So if you want to write the word for soybean, you would use this particular character. Then continuing, 8, 9, and then this part, 10, 11 goes over and down, 12, 13, 14, and then 15 and 16, and this means a page. Okay, the onyomi is read as either to or zu. To, long o, long u, or zu. The kunyomi is atama, atama, and if you have taken some Japanese or some martial arts, you might recognize atama as meaning the head. So if you're doing some sort of technique to the head, it would be atama. Okay, how do we use that in Danzanru? Well, here's a couple of examples. First one I'm going to read this two different ways. It's zo kuroase or zozu kuroase. This one is tento, and then this one is nodo kappo, nodo kappo. And so I've highlighted them here. The zozu is oftentimes read as zo, zo, like that. So what that means is it means an elephant's head. And this is an advanced technique. And then this is a resuscitation technique. Okay, let's look at the next one. This one is probably the most complicated in this particular video. Notice it has the radical, this radical, which is here. And in previous videos, I've mentioned that this can stand for moon or month, but it can also stand for meat. And another version of this is seen here. This kind of looks like a piece of steak that's been cut open. But this can mean moon or it can mean meat. In this case, we'll see that it is the latter. Okay, so this one has 19 strokes. It's a pretty complicated character. And one thing about whenever you use this radical on the left side, you may have to compress it a little bit. So you may have to compress it like so. So you go 1, 2, make it thin here with a little kick, 3 and 4. And then continuing, 5, 6, 7, that means grass. And then 8 this is a little bit different. When we did the cliff, we started this way and then this way and then this way. But on this one, we draw this part first, 8, 9, and then we draw this little funny thing here. 10 goes this way, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. That's kind of an interesting little piece there. And then 17 comes down like this, 18 comes across, and then 19 is a little tick mark there. And so, and by the way, the 9, 17, 18, and 19 together mean a halberd, a blade on a pole. All right, the Chinese reading of this is so or zo, zo. The Japanese reading is harawata, harawata. And the meaning of this is viscera or internal organs. Just like I mentioned in other videos, whenever you see this character, you might expect it to be some sort of body part. And indeed, this means internal organs. Well, how do we use this in Danzanru? Well, here are a couple of examples. This one says jinzo kappo. Jinzo kappo. This is the what's called the kidney restoration. And then this one is kanzo byo, kanzo byo, which means liver restoration or liver treatment. The next character we'll look at is this one, and the bushu or the radical is this, and you can see that particular shape right here. Now notice that the shape for sun would have one line through it, and this one has two lines through it. This is the character that means eye, and it would be, if this were written by itself, it would be pronounced moku or me. And together, we'll see that that has something to do with the eye. The stroke order looks like this. To draw the eye part, we go 1, 2, long stroke there, 3, 4, and then 5. So it's the same as drawing the sun. Instead of having one stroke through the center, we have two strokes in the center. Continuing, we go up and do this part first. 6, 7, 8, 9 with a little kick, and then 10 this way and 11 this way. The Chinese reading is gan, gan. And the Japanese reading of this is me. Same as I. This can be read as me. And the meaning of this, different than the eye, specifically, this is the eyeball itself. So the eyeball. And we use it in Danzanru a couple of different ways. Here we see gan hazushi, gan hazushi. That's if somebody sticks a pistol in your face. How do you get out of that? Gan hazushi. And then this is gambyo inshu, which is the inflamed eye, and that's a restoration technique for that. Well, finally, we have this character, and it has an interesting radical. Up here we see this radical, and before I tell you what it is, I want you to imagine what that looks like. Imagine that this is a window and you're looking out the window. What do you see out there? Well, if you said rain, that is exactly what this is. This is the character for rain. You would say it as ame. So we see that particular piece right here in this particular character. And then we'll look at the stroke order, which goes like this. 1, 2, 3 over with a little kick there. 4, and then simply draw 4 strokes here, which go 5, 6, 7, 8. Sometimes people will write them at a slant like this. Sometimes they'll write them straight across. Either way is fine. 9 comes across this way and down. 10, we close that up. And then 11, we draw the vertical stroke. 12 and 13. 14, you come around and down. 15, we close that. And then 16 goes like so. And then 17 crosses it. Okay, so what does, well, how do we first off say this word? It can be read as ka or ge. More familiar to many readers, we write it as kasumi, kasumi. And what it means is hazy or dim, or to become hazy, or to be dimmed. And the primary usage we see in Danzanru is this one, kasumidori, which is an advanced technique. I've written several books on Danzanru related topics, all the way from philosophy to techniques to writing and even historical applications. If you're interested in these books, I hope you will visit Amazon.com and pick up a copy. Well, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and of course subscribe to it. And I'll see you next time.